Hello everybody. Ooh, we went live really quickly there, caught me on the hop a little bit. Welcome to another Foxton Friday live painting session. So today we've got a very, very intensely pink rose. This is a David Austin rose called Boscobel, Boscobel. Really beautiful variety, but very tricky to paint. So we've just got the one to do today. Because the colors are kind of difficult, but the trickiest thing about painting a rose like this is managing to create the form of the rose in those extremely high chroma, i.e. intense colors, okay? So I'm working a little bit smaller today, 7 inches by 5 inches. The panel is up here on the easel and ready to go. I've got my paints out. I've got a couple of brushes ready. An alla prima painting. We're going to see how far we can get with it today. So the goal today is to use the ChromaMagic app to learn a little bit about the colors of the rose, to mix those colors. And the challenge there is getting the intensity of those blue reds and orange pinks as high as they need to be. And then we're going to try and use brush marks and edge handling to create this rose. Let's see what happens. Let's get straight over to the easel. Okay, so I'm going to start today by just kind of quickly drawing this out. We'll just rough out where it's going to be. So what have I got on the palette today? I've got lead white, cad yellow, Quinacridone Rose, which is going to be the kind of the mainstay of the mixing today, transparent red oxide and green gold, raw umber, ivory black. These two are the chroma droppers, which we need mostly for the background. We certainly don't want to be dropping chroma on the rose itself. And phthalo green, a little bit of phthalo green for the leaves. I'm going to start off with some lead white, a little bit of raw umber. Should be good for drawing out. And then before we go any further, in here I've got some linseed oil with a little bit of terps in it, a little bit of solvent, and I'm just going to oil out the panel first. Oh, the dogs are off again. I wonder what set them off now. I swear, then now we've got two of them, they just bark because they enjoy barking. And one sets off the other, and then the first one will stop, and then the other one will keep going, which sets off the first one. And they just sit around and bark a lot of the time. Cornelison's hog. It's a really small one. It's a size 1. I'm going to get a little bit of this paint up. And I'm just going to kind of rough out where this rose is going to go. So the division between the grey of the background and the cloth, pretty much halfway actually. That's odd, I don't normally take photos like that. I took this one in a little bit of a rush today. So I may not have been quite as careful with the arrangement as I normally am. Furthest right side is going to be about here. Furthest left side is that little pointy petal, which is going to be about there. You know that little pointy, you see that little pointy petal that comes out there? But the actual, I'm more interested in the kind of the roundness of the form of the rose, and that's all going to be ignoring those kind of side petals, which we will put in, but maybe not straight away. About here. So I'm squinting down and trying to see how I can break this down into a kind of a straight line blocking. How is everybody today? I hope you're all well. It's decidedly autumnal over here at the moment, I have to say, even though it's only the 8th of August. I don't know what's happening. The blackberries are out. I'm managing to pick blackberries. Damsons, plums are all out. The apples are starting to fall from the trees. And maybe it's just, I mean, it is just the time of year, but it just seems like everything is a little bit early. Just trying to kind of develop the form like as simply as possible. So I'm putting in these little guard petals as well, just because I want to know where they are. Little outside petals. But what I'm mostly interested in is the form. Now, this is an interesting rose because a lot of the time I talk about roses as being a bowl. This one I would say is more of a ball. You know, if I was to kind of draw like central axes on it, they would probably be something like this. It's like a ball, except that it does open out in the middle here. So this is how I'm thinking about the form of this rose, you know. So we've got light side over here, deep dark middle of the ball where we can just, there's a hole in it so we can see into the middle, and then we've got a shadow side over here. And this is gradually moving from light into shadow, kind of like that. Just thinking about where the bottom of the vase is going to be, about here. The thing is, if you squint down, you can hardly see that vase at all. So, you know, you probably know, like I'm really, let's get the center line in. I'm really not going to be emphasizing that little bottle at all. I'm going to, in fact, if anything, I'm going to almost ignore its presence because I'm most interested in the rose. I just want to suggest it, really, just get an idea that it's there. Probably about there, something like that. And we'll be painting as little of it as possible, which means basically hardly any of it. But it does have its own little cast shadow, which I want to get in, which is about there. She's off again. I swear, it's their new hobby. When we had one dog, she would bark sometimes, but not all that much. And now it's like their hobby is barking as much as they possibly can. Oh, cyclamens are lovely. Heather says she's got her first cyclamen flower. That's nice. Faye Kelly says, these Friday classes are helping me with transpositions and master copies as I worry less about the colour and develop my brush strokes and style. Nice. Bought a few new brushes. Always good. Let's have a look at some colour, right? So I'm going to put in like the background colours first. So, you know, if we have a look on ChromaMagic, it tells us the background value here is about a value 6. So I'm just going to mix up some white. Everything in this subject today is slightly reddish tinge, but this is very, very low chroma. Close to grey. But everything is even the background seems to have a slightly pinkish tinge to it. I'm going to go at a fair old clip to begin with because we just want to get some colour down so we can see like as simply as possible. That's pretty much a 6, that's all right. Are we getting somewhere near to what we want? I'm going to use a ridiculously outsized brush for this. This is a Rosemary's Ivory long flat, size 10. I'm going to be painting really simply today. Just getting the big shapes in. We'll see how far we get. That's nice. I'm going to attempt to say, I don't know if that's I'm going to your name here. I'm going to attempt to pronounce it. You can tell me if I get it totally wrong, right? Kawalimagali Blanca. Is that actually your name, or is that like a YouTube handle? And did I pronounce it right? I hope that's not insulting. I don't mean to insult you. Anyway, welcome to you from Texas. A first time to catch live. That's very cool. So I take it you've seen a couple of videos before. Actually, today is, yeah, I had to throw today's together quite quickly because I've had just one of those days. At 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning, the ceiling in the downstairs hallway fell in with a resounding crash, waking up both dogs, who then proceeded to bark, obviously, as loud as you like. Is that too dark? Looks too dark, but it's hard to say because at the moment I'm judging it against everything else, which is obviously much too light because everything is white. So we're not going to be tempted to change it yet until we can see a little bit more. So the cloth, I'm going to go like value 7, value 8. Mostly interested in just getting some, put a little bit of raw umber in it. Change the color slightly from the background. Mostly interested in just getting the value in really and making sure it's really close to grey. What's this? 7.5 is probably pretty perfect. You know what I'm going to use? No, I won't use the same brush. I'm going to use a hog. Excuse me, just to kind of differentiate it a little bit. I kind of feel like, you know, I might have set an even more challenging subject with this one today because, you know, not only is it a really, really intensely colored rose, there's not really any kind of shadow or form in the surroundings of the rose, you know, the environment that it's sitting in, to really kind of create a feeling of depth there. Like a black background probably would have been more sensible. And perhaps this is just complete hubris, thinking that I can paint this. But the main thing we're after today is to ascertain. Sorry, I'm just moving the lights around a little bit. Is to ascertain the colours of the rose. Like, see if we can paint the rose with, like, you know, 3 colours is a good amount. It's a bit too many, to be honest with you. I mean, 3 colours, that's a lot, isn't it, really? A few too many colours, you could say. You've got to mix them, you've got to paint with them, mix them together. It's complicated business. Doing everything really as simply as possible, like almost like a kind of an impressionist version. Cast shadow, which obviously has a little bit of light in the middle of it as well. So my whole goal at the moment is just to get everything kind of at about the right level of value. So that when those intense pinks go on to the panel, they're not sitting on their own, you know, we've got something to relate them to. And we can immediately see, hopefully we can see, like, if they're going to be about the right color, about the right value. So I'm just throwing everything in at the moment to give us a starting point. This does look dark, doesn't it? It does look a little bit too dark, that. We'll see. Might just need a little bit more light on the panel. The only thing really that you've got on this bottle that shows you that it's glass is the highlight. And it's actually the lightest colour in the whole painting, so it's white. Anything that doesn't work at the moment can be fixed later. The main thing is to get the values down, to cover the panel so that we can see if our colours are going to work or not. Oh, your name is Pearl. It was a YouTube handle after all. Phew. You know, because I didn't want to insult you. Hello, Mary Elizabeth. It's hot and muggy in Nashville, she says. It's warm here, but there's a definite tinge of autumn in the air now here. It's kind of nice, actually, getting that autumn light. Got to choose a light color for the light side of the rose. That's where most of the strongest color is. So I've got the sample size set as big as it can possibly be in ChromaMagic, right? Let me show you this on the palette cam so you can see it a bit more clearly. This is the photo in the incredible ChromaMagic app, and I'm just I've got the sample size set really big, and I'm just kind of popping around here and looking for what do I think is going to be a good place to start. Mostly what I'm finding around here is a lot of value 5 and value 6. So we're going to be around there, value 5, value 6. The lighter part's a little bit lighter. But look at this chroma. Ooh, look at how intense that color. That's an intense color, right? That's a pretty intense color. Can we mix it? I'll tell you where I'm going to start. Quinacridone Rose. I've got paint in my white already, so I'm going to put some fresh white out. Kerry says it feels like autumn in Cornwall too. Yeah. I think if you're in countryside as well, I think maybe you feel it sooner because you see things changing, you know. Elsa Marie, you're very welcome. Nice to see you. So I'm going to bring this Quinacridone Rose up to about the right value, just with white. And you can see, like, before I even get close, that it's much too blue-red. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring out the big guns. Permanent orange. Very high chroma. Red-orange. Of about the value we want. And I'm going to use that because if I put any more white in this, it's just going to lose more chroma, which I don't really want to happen. I'm going to put that in. You see, we're struggling. Now it's going more orange. We definitely don't have the right value yet. No, it's dark. See, it's a little bit too dark still. We don't have the chroma. Interesting. I suspect that this is one of those colors that you get on a like a computer screen, a screen from a device that you can't quite match in paint anyway. What else could we do? We could start with... No, actually, I don't think that would work, titanium white. We could try a pyrrole. Let's try a pyrrole. This is Williamsburg pyrrole red. It's already a little bit more orange red than the Quinacridone Rose is. Apologies to everyone who had the materials list in advance for today, because I'm changing it on the fly as we go. Pyrrole red with permanent orange. I mean, you can't get really any higher chroma than this in these colors in paint. I haven't put any white in it at all. I am going to have to, though, because I have to bring the value up, because the value at the moment is too low. And I suspect that this is going to be one of those times where you kind of need to compromise on the chroma or the value. And I would tend to, usually to compromise the chroma and keep the value, but we'll see. We're in the reaches of the limits of paint. Still quite a bit darker. It's getting closer, but it's still quite a bit darker, I would say. I've got no option but to add white. If I add yellow, it's going to turn into an orange, which we don't want. So the only way I can lighten this really is with the white, because I don't want to sacrifice the hue so much that it ends up orange. See, we're getting closer to the value now, but we just can't get the chroma, not really. So we'll just get it a little bit higher value, and then that is about the highest chroma that we're going to be able to get in paint. I suspect that especially on these high chroma reds, this phone screen is pushing them a little bit more. What about in the middle? Like right in the middle, it's incredibly dark. Look at that. Transparent red oxide. I want it to go a little bit more red than that. Let's put some pyrrole in it. Started getting too light. We need to keep that value down. Maybe that would be better with Quinacridone Rose and transparent red oxide. Yep, that's better. That's going to be a very, very transparent mixer, so it won't cover all that well. And then we want a kind of a color for around this side of the rose, like where it's turning into shadow. Value 3. Probably, actually, that one will be the pyrrole. With transparent red oxide. Yeah, that should work. So I've got 3 colors. We're junking that one, not dark enough. We're junking this one, not enough chroma. Intense. Why did I set myself this challenge today when I've been awake since like 4:30? Cleaning up broken plaster and wooden slats and taping up electrical wires that are hanging out of the ceiling. Why do I do this to myself? Because it's fun. Kathy says, I just got a tube of Michael Harding Quinacridone Coral, which I bet would work really well for this. It's good. Quinacridone Coral. Do you reckon it's higher chroma? A couple of things I'm really curious about that, Kathy. Do you reckon it's higher chroma than Quinacridone Rose mixed with titanium white? Number 1. And number 2, Do you reckon, is it a single pigment or is it mixed? Is it mixed? So Kate is suggesting Naphthol Red. Naphthol Red would be a good choice, but the Pyro, from my experience, gives you slightly more chroma in an orange red than the Naphthol, but there's not much in it. So that would definitely get you really close. Sally says, what about Naples Yellow Light? No, I wouldn't touch that because the Naples Yellow is a slightly lower chroma yellow. So we have to put, I mean, I've got to put white in it, you know, which obviously doesn't have much chroma, but apart from that, I want like the highest chroma I can possibly have. Pearl, that's good news. You got your value scale. Yes. Hello, Jan. Good to see you. Hi, Alan. Oh, it's very hot in Greenwich, huh? This is about the highest chroma. These are the highest chroma reds that I can get, like a middle one, a shadow color, and a light color. Let's just kind of put these onto the panel and see if they're going to sit in about the right kind of color space. See how close we can get. So this is Rosemary's, another Rosemary's brush, synthetic. It's an eclipse, angled eclipse. Here's our highest chroma red, the light side. And I'm thinking about this. I'm not really looking too much at the, oh yeah, that's not too bad, is it? I'm not looking too much at the reference photo here. I'm trying to imagine this form. I know I'm going to want a hard edge here. So a lot of it comes down to the edges. Then as we go around towards the shadow side, like by the time we get around here, this is like the outside of the rose in a shadow shape. So mixing between those as we get gradually around here. Wow, those colors are intense. I have to put some sunglasses on. This part of the rose quite dark. Trying to get this like a really simplified version. If you're really struggling, you know, to get colors like this intense, honestly, don't worry about it, because these are among, in my experience anyway, from a lot of color mixing, these kind of intense pinkish reds are amongst the most difficult to get in paint. The middle of the board, ooh, you see, I thought that might not cover too well. And the other thing, today's stream should really have a bit of a health warning on it, because you're pretty much guaranteed to get extremely high chroma pinkish reds everywhere on your hands, on your clothes, the furniture, your pets. It's going to get everywhere. Let's go dark with this. So this is just transparent red oxide. I may even try bringing this right down with a bit of, because I want it to go a little bit more blue red than that really, if I can. I may even try bringing it down with dioxazine purple. So I'm trying to be careful to keep a hard edge here. I'm trying to create an impression of this form without painting any petals at all. But on the left-hand side, because it's kind of in shadow, I'm going to soften that side there. Right. I'm going to start breaking these forms down almost immediately, though. It's very important to keep a hard edge here. You can start working some light into this. Just looking at these very kind of a lot more blue-red colours around the outside on those guard petals, and the chroma is slightly lower, so I'm going to bring in a tiny bit of black to drop the chroma a little bit. Could probably push that more purple with a little bit of blue in it. Should we do that? Let's put a tiny bit of blue on the palette. I know it wasn't in the materials list, I'm sorry. Ref earlier comments about chucking the stream together really quickly today. You know, sometimes I practice these paintings before I actually do them. Not always, but sometimes. And then sometimes I don't practice them and I just go in and they come out, just go in and paint and they come out really nicely. Sometimes I don't practice them and I just go in and paint and I'm like, it's a struggle. Guess which one today is? Guess how we're doing today. I'm just now realizing as I'm working through these colors, like one, I didn't give you the full materials list that you needed, which is not really fair, is it? That's about right. That's about a value 6 I'm going to use here for these outside petals. Some parts will be lighter. Some parts will want shadow in them. We're alla primaing a little bit today. Now I want it lighter than that, I think. The more I paint these colors on, however, the more the background actually feels like it might be about right in terms of value. What do you reckon? We've got one of these here. More detail will go on to these, obviously, a little bit later on. For now, we're just trying to get making shapes with a brush, making petal shapes with a brush, really simplified ones. Light edge. I kind of feel like I want that green of that leaf in as well now, really, just to... Let's bring a little bit of this in here. I've got to be really careful here because I want to bring some light in. But at the same time, I've got to be really, really careful not to lose that high chroma because these pinks are not as high chroma. Bringing a bit of light around the right-hand side whilst keeping this strong red underneath. Hopefully, anyway. I think we might have to go darker on this side here. A little bit darker here. Just looking at value more than anything else. Like what I'm dealing with at the moment is value, color, and edge. And you know what you want to do, of course, is to be painting petals, and you start to panic and you think it's so complicated. I need to be able to get all of those petals in there, and you know that's the most important thing I need to do now is get those petals, because that's what makes it look like a flower. But actually, this is the opposite of that. It's like, how simply can I create an impression of the form of that flower? Here comes the dagger brush. It's kind of a floppy brush, this, so you need quite a bit of paint on there for it to do anything. I'm going to try and work in just the impression of a couple of petal edges, which are going to go like this. Trying to keep a hard edge always against this deep soft part here. So I'm trying to suggest the shape with the right value of paint rather than actually trying to paint the thing. A little bit of pink around here. These daggers are lovely. This is an ivory flat. I've really come to love these ivory flats, Rosemary's ivory flats, for flower painting especially. They have a lot of spring in them, which actually means, at first I thought they were too stiff, but now I'm used to them. If you put enough paint on them, you can actually make some really kind of strong, emphatic strokes with them, and it works really well. Let's get some green in. My white has become hopelessly messed up again, so I'm going to put some fresh out. Okay, that's such a lovely thing to say. Thank you. It makes it worth me showing up even on the days like today, even on the hard days when I get to like towards the end of the day and I think, I don't think I can do it today. I don't think I have the energy. I'm not prepared. I don't know what I'm going to paint. Today was one of those days. Okay, it says, it's amazing what these streams do to lift your spirits. A little bit of beauty to your day. And there you go. It's worth me rocking up once a week just for that. Thank you so much. Thomas says, we need this so badly the way the world is right now. Thomas, you are not wrong. How do we mix this color for this leaf? What is it? It's a very, it hasn't got a lot of kind of variation in it. I'm going to start off with black. I'm going to bring in some phthalo green, and then I'm going to bring in some yellow. Black, ivory black and yellow, pretty much any yellow, this is cad yellow, is actually a really, really efficient way to mix greens. Low value kind of greens like rose, Oh, we need more, it needs to go more towards a yellow green, so I'm going to bring in some green gold now. This is if you want to, you don't actually have to match the colors exactly that you see. It's totally unimportant. But it does, it's at the same time, it is also the most important thing. If you want to learn mixing, you want to learn to create convincing form, it depends entirely on what your goals are. Another angled eclipse, just going to put in this leaf shape here. Am I going really fast today? I feel like I'm going at a bit of a clip today. It's possibly because I'm overtired. Apologies if I'm going ridiculously quickly. And also, I just wanted to get these colors down and see how they looked. I mean, the form of the rose is starting to come, to my surprise, to be honest. But it's coming because it's so simple, because I've made it such a simplified version. And I'm always laboring this point, I know, but it seems counterintuitive, but if you simplify and paint as few petals as possible and make sure that you get the big forms right, the ball with the hole in the middle. I'm going to do a little bit more work on that, the hole in the middle of the balls shortly, but that's basically what makes a painting like this work. If you don't have that, it's highly unlikely to work. It will look like, kind of that frustrating, unsatisfying version of a flower painting where you've got something that looks a little bit like a flower painting, looks a little bit like the flower, but you can see that you've got the kind of the petals, you've drawn them carefully and they're in the right place. You know, trying to figure out why don't they really work. Probably because the edges have been neglected, so there isn't a strong feeling of form. And also probably because overall in getting into the details of trying to figure out the intricacies of the petals, the overall color has been lost. So I need to leave this very strong pinkish red that I put down at the beginning. I need to leave that alone as much as possible. Because the more I fuss with that and paint over it, the more I'm going to lose the chroma. And it's almost like the painting goes over an edge, it goes over a cliff, and then suddenly the chroma is gone. And you're lost. And you don't know how to get it back. And in fact, you can't get it back because what will generally happen then is you'll think, well, I'll keep on painting and try and fix it and improve it. It needs some more work. And usually the problem is that it's already gone past the point where it can work. And working on it more is going to take it further away from where you want it to be rather than closer. I've had that experience so many times. I think maybe a little bit lighter in the background in places. And I also think a hard edge here. I don't want it to get too light though, because then the lights on the edge of those petals won't show. These little lights here. Yeah. Let's work in some little bit of variation. See, these petals around the outside, they're not really high chroma though, so I can afford to play with them a little bit more, create an impression of form there without destroying the high chroma on around this side in the light. I just feel it's really, really important to keep that in there, and if I lose it, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. I won't be able to get it back. It's like you're kind of on a knife edge to keep that chroma strong. And the moment that it goes, it's gone for good. Coming around into the light here, we're a bit more pink. I really want to get some deep value in the middle now. I think the form is starting to show, you know. What can I do to get that like really lower value? I'm going to bring in Quinacridone Rose and black. Bring in a little bit of transparent red oxide. A low value, much lower value in the middle there, which is then going to help this side show more. Still have painted very few petals so far. It needs to go darker than that. Okay, extreme situation. I want some chroma in there, that's the problem. So I'm going to try, this is dioxazine purple. Now I know there's no purple in there, but it has a red component to it, right? So I'm wondering if I get dioxazine purple with transparent red oxide. Is it going to get me low enough? It's going to get me close. Let's try putting a little bit on. Actually, no, I was going to put it on with a palette knife, but I won't because I don't want it to get, I don't want a lot of texture in the middle of the rose, you know. It's a really dark bit just there. Oh, there. That's the value we want. Yeah, now you can see the hole more, the kind of the gap in the middle of the rose. Just had to get that value down while still having some chroma in there, and that pretty much got me there. Dioxazine purple and transparent red oxide. And I'm going up a notch in the value now, just a little. Around this area. And there's a couple of little bits of lighter pinks where you've got some petals just poking out into the light. So all the time while I'm painting at the moment, I'm squinting. So I'm trying very hard not to lose the form that I've made. So this is like the dangerous point of the painting. It would be really, really easy to lose the form now. The more, I've found this so many times, the more you start to add, if you've got like really fresh color like this, the more you start to add, the more you run the risk. The more detail you add, the more you run the risk of losing the freshness and losing the form, the overall feeling of the form. So I'm putting these little highlights in. So I've got the paint right on one edge of the knife, right? So I can bring those little highlights in. So I can bring in enough to kind of give you enough visual cues, give myself and anyone else looking at the painting enough visual cues that it's a rose. Then it's, you know, it can be surprising how much you can get away with. And keep very vague, which will allow me to keep that color on, what's the word? Unsullied. So at the moment, those little highlights are hard on both sides. So I want to soften them. I want them hard on the right-hand side, but I want to soften them on the left-hand side. I'm going to keep wiping this brush off. This is the dagger, it's nice for this. And that's because those petals, those edges are actually slightly curved. I think I'm going to have to bring that little background area there actually down a little bit in value, right next to the rose. Let's use a smaller brush though. Just to help these highlights stand out a little bit more. Oh, that's lighter. I want to go darker. Same value. I'm being too careful. I do this a lot, kind of to carve out a shape, carve out the shape of something using the background color. It's much easier to control. This is fun, actually. Tricky, surely, but fun. Which, you know, it also is the point where you're at the most danger of ruining the painting. Brevity is the key. Once the form is there. Too dark. Oh, I just wanted a hard edge there, but I needed it of the right value, and that's way too dark. Oops. And I wanted it with a single stroke, and now I have to paint it all. I just want a little bit of a stronger suggestion just there of the edge. Of the little bottle. Kind of the same thing, just trying to bring in enough on the edges just to suggest where the form is. What a tricky little painting. Fun though. Anybody painting along? How are you doing with this? You know, if you're struggling a bit with this, honestly, don't beat yourself up about it, because this is a tricky painting. This is a tricky old subject. It's not easy to show the form in this one. Alla Prima Rose. And I'm being guided more by trying to keep these colors clean than I am by trying to like paint the reference photo, you know. Trying to avoid that temptation as much as possible. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm totally not keeping up with the comments today. That, you know, that should give you something of an idea of how tricky painting something like this is. When I'm just kind of talking about what I'm painting and I'm not keeping up with the comments, pretty much guarantee you it's because the painting is tricky. Try and make some on the outside of the rose here. I'm going to try and make some more rosy type shapes, just to sort of suggest. Actually, it's gone a little bit further than I thought it was going to, this painting today. I was kind of expecting it to be like just the basic form and just show mixing the colours, but I'm having a bit too much fun now. Probably overtired. I definitely feel like you can play with these guard petals around the outside much more because the colour is less, the chroma is less critical there. So that's where you've got a bit of room to kind of create a slightly more, you know, carefully painted, if you like, impression of some of these petals. But here I really don't want to mess. I don't want to mess with it. Maybe just a little bit. So which way round you put the brush down has a big, with a brush like this anyway, it's a big effect on where the hard edges go. So I want a hard edge on the right hand side here. So if I do it that way around, I'm less likely to get it. If I do it this way around, hopefully the brush will kind of do it for me and I can bring it in. Need to bring in the shadow part against that. It's all about the edges. It really is. That was fun. Did I get any titanium out? I didn't. I'm going to get some titanium out for one bit of the painting. Just the highlight on the bottle, because it's going to be, everything else is painted with lead white, which is a slightly lower, just thought of something I want to change. Slightly lower value, very slightly lower value. No, I don't have enough paint. If I don't watch it, I'm going to get into that, trying to stretch the paint I've got to remix the colour. I had the colour I wanted, that I think I wanted, but I didn't have enough paint. And that's usually a bit of a recipe for disaster when that happens. Is this going to be right now? What a happy little painting. What was I doing? Oh yeah. I'm going to get a fresh brush for this because I want it to be really clean. Very cheap, flat synthetic, but it should do for this. It's about the size of the mark that I want to make. Will be slightly cooler and it will be higher value than any of the other whites in the painting, which is pretty much what I want here, you know, because this is the little highlight on the bottle. And doing the edges of it with a knife lets me get harder edge, as long as I don't get the value too wrong. I promise I will catch up with the comments in a minute. This one needed a lot of focus, as they sometimes do. Suggest the top of the water around here. Yeah, I think I can live with this. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I just put some pink in my bottle. Should we leave it? Nah. It's too odd. I thought, oh, I'll just soften that a bit, but the brush that I picked up to soften it with had some of the pink of the rose on it. Oops. Not what we wanted at all. I'm going to leave it there. That was fun. Intense. Thank you, Pearl. Thank you, Michael. It's almost time for pizza. Thomas says it's almost time for pizza and a nice glass of wine, which, you know, I can't disagree with. Heather says, I'm not sure whether to stop. If you're asking that question, the answer is probably now. The answer is probably yes. Now is the time to stop. Hello, Sandra. Good to see you. Okay, you're actually in the UK. Whereabouts are you? Oh, Helen says, would you say using bigger flats is a good way to stop yourself diving into detail? Absolutely, yes. Lisa, I'm sorry, you asked me what values and I wasn't watching the comments, so I don't actually know which bit you were talking about now, so I'm not sure. I mean, most of this I've been, after the initial kind of throwdown of the main colours, most of it has been kind of just working relationships by eye. I just want a bit lighter. Just kind of help that sit there. I mean, the value I'm getting over here on the cloth is like an 8. The value of the background too is mostly it's about a 6-ish, but it gets a bit darker there where I wanted those petal shapes to show a little bit more. So these colours, very tricky to paint. Whether you can, very tricky to mix, sorry. Whether you can get that, the high chroma colour that I started with around here, which everything else has been painted kind of into, will depend very much on what tube paints you have. So I think I settled in the end on the Pyrrole Red from Williamsburg, mixed with Permanent Orange from Michael Harding. And then I brought up the value a little bit with Lead White from Rublev, and we ended up with this colour here. Very, very intense. I mean, I suspect that in this case, there's no physical way that I could mix the colour that would match the colour that the phone screen was showing me. Because phone screens can go much higher chroma than paint can. Stratford upon Avon. Oh, nice. Oh, it's very pretty there. Lisa, I'm sorry. Lisa liked the bit of pink in the bottle. It's kind of there still. I've mostly taken it out, but it's kind of there, right? I just need to neaten up that edge. You made me look at that part of the painting and I realised that the bottle was a bit wobbly there. I've faked the bottle a bit in places and made it a little bit more obvious than it really is, but you know, actually I don't like this. I'm going to soften that. Let's not use the brush with the pink in it though. Let's get a new one out. This is too, I want that to be more vague there. I like this here, I want that there because that shows the top of the water, but this is all getting a little bit too, you know what, let's just destroy the edge there. Like we've got no edge here. Yeah, that's nicer. Oh, that's much nicer. And this is too dark and it doesn't have enough chroma. We got to change it. We can't leave it, no. Did I say the painting was finished? Obviously I lied. A little bit lighter, a little bit more chroma. Can we get that there? What's going to put in it? Tiny bit of orange. Lead white. Tiny bit of, no, not raw umber, tiny bit of transparent red oxide. I just want a little, I want it lighter and a little bit more chroma in that, just that bottom of the, that's too much now. Sometimes you just have to spend a lot of time mixing on the palette to get it where it needs to be. And I know that whatever I put down now is going to mix with what's there, so I want it slightly lighter than I want to end up with, and probably with slightly more chroma than I want to end up with. Just got to put it down and hope for the best. Ooh, what happened there? Picked up something I didn't want. Oh, look, I've got pink on the brush. I have to be really careful not to get that in there now. I actually had the right colour and then I've ended up getting some other stuff on there. That's about right, I think. Just like a little suggestion of light we want there. Let's pull this cast shadow out. I love these subtle greys actually. It is really nice colour arrangement. All of these really close neutrals with that those very intense pinks. It really, maybe that's what attracted me to it. It really kind of shows, the neutrals really show the pink. Kate says, I love the part where you get to put in the highlight, makes the whole thing pop. It really does, doesn't it? It really does. So Sandra said she used CAD red light, quinacridone red, and what's TW? And it worked all right. Good. Cool. Stephanie says, did you soften that whole left edge of the rose against the background? This edge, no, actually I didn't. Originally I did have it soft, but then I came in and worked the edge a bit with the background colour to make it a little bit harder. But within there it's soft. There's nothing really, there's no hard edges within the rose, but the edge against the background is hard still. Obviously nowhere near the same shape as the rose in the photo, but you know, it's just a starting point, right? That's my excuse. Anyway, I'm sticking to it. Michelle's phone is covered in paint. Yeah, mine too. Always. Thomas says, what size dagger do you use the most? I mostly use this one, which is a 3/8. So a bit smaller than a 1/2 inch. See, it works really well. This is the Rosemary's Ivory flat 3/8. I really like that one. I've got a couple of others, but that one comes out more than any other for sure. Michelle, I hope you're feeling a bit better today for having mixed some really, really, really bright reds. Pinky reds. If nothing else, at least we got to look at some lovely colour. Oh, nice. And Nora says the background is Mirandy quiet. Yeah, they did come out really nice, those neutral backgrounds. I'm pretty happy with it. Pearl, that's brilliant to hear. If I can inspire one person on a Friday, then it's worth me showing up. If I can make one person happier than they were when they started, it's worth me showing up. Thank you so much. Michelle says, phew, that was fast. Well, it was a little bit, wasn't it? We've only been going just over an hour. But I kind of feel like this doesn't need any more now. If I try and do any more to it, I just don't think I'm going to make it any better. You know, when you get to that point, like I was saying earlier on, like if you're asking yourself whether it's time to stop, it probably is. It probably is time. Because if you keep going, you know the risks. We all know the risks too well. Like you get a painting kind of, a lot of the time, especially a little alla prima painting like this, it can have a trajectory where at the beginning it starts off really, really slow and then it comes up and up and up and up and up and up and you're really enjoying it. You're thinking it's looked great. You think, I'll just do a little bit more and then, whoa. It goes. So I'm going to leave this one here because I think it's as far as I'm personally capable of taking it without ruining it. More than likely. Listen, thank you very much for coming, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this little brightly coloured rose. Hope you enjoyed the painting today. If you have a go at this one and you find it difficult to mix those reds, bear in mind it might not be you, it might be the tube paints, and you just might not have what you need, you know. Thank you, Stefan. That's a very nice thing to say. I am indeed going for a glass of wine, which I think I deserve today. David, that's so not true, but thank you anyway. It's been lovely to see you all. You all have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.